My name is Laila and I'm a homemaker. Yeah.
My name is Mr. Yang. I am a radio DJ.
Hi, my name is Lisa Marie and I'm managing a cocktail bar.
Hi, my name is Wendy and I'm a program manager and I organize learning expeditions for companies.
Hi everybody, I'm Jill Marie Thomas, also known as Auntie Jill. I am a singer-songwriter, entertainer and streamer as well.
Hi, I'm Dave Parkesh. I am a serial entrepreneur. I own cafes, restaurants and I have my own import-export company.
Your friend or colleague constantly insists that Chinese privilege is a real thing. On a scale of 1 to 10, how vulnerable do you feel?
I like this question because I'm not in it.
Personally, I don't feel much if they say that Chinese privilege, if they insist that Chinese privilege exists, because I feel that yes, it does exist.
For me, I feel vulnerable when people say that because I don't necessarily agree because I have a good life, I'm grateful for everything that I have, but I wouldn't say that I have the same privilege that other people may see that Chinese people have.
I think there is a lot of pressure to agree. I think that if it's a matter of if you truly feel that way and if you empathize, then yeah, you know, maybe you wouldn't feel so pressured or feel so vulnerable in that position. But if, for example, maybe it's something that you've never experienced in your life and you can't really put it into words, and this term is, you know, rather new term as well, you know. So these conversations haven't been had in the past couple of years. So how do you say then, oh yeah, I agree, you know, and am I being forced to say it and agree? You know, and that's just a bad position to be in, and that's how people get defensive, I feel, you know.
But I find that a lot of people who have studied overseas in certain countries, like countries where Chinese is not the majority, they do experience racist encounters, and I think they're more empathetic towards situations like that.
Because to a certain extent, I personally feel, you know, that
He's so scared I'm going to whack him with the board. No,
there's some form of, I can't even use the word, you know, like but yeah, deep down I feel that to a certain extent, to a large extent, there's some form of Chinese privilege in Singapore. Reasons are, we just take a simple one, like say if an Indian person was to go and rent a house, you know, and then the agent or your broker would message saying things like, oh, the owner doesn't want an Indian, you know. Why is that a thing?
Yeah.
If I'm making 20 grand and a Chinese guy making 20 grand, we are still going to pay your rent.
Yeah.
You know. Why, how is that? Is it because of my skin color?
But this vulnerability score, I must say, is fluid. Like, it can be 0 if the person who's saying or talking or pointing out to Chinese privilege is a Chinese person himself. Right, at that position, in that situation, I feel that vulnerability does not exist for me because I feel complete trust that this person, whom I grew up thinking that he would never understand how I feel, validates my experience by saying that this is a thing, right? And then there's just no vulnerability, just trust, like 100% trust, and there's no space for vulnerability at all.
I mean, I think what you said, definitely I've seen it and I feel sad for my friends. So I mean, yeah, as you're saying it, I'm realizing like, oh yeah, it does happen in that, you know, in the different examples that we are faced with every day in life. I think definitely there is some Chinese privilege.
You know, this idea of privilege, right, just like prejudice, I really do strongly feel that it is fluid as well. You can feel prejudiced in one situation, but you might be the prejudiced one in a different situation. So in this conversation, I might be the victim of Chinese privilege, or you might be shoved into the role of a victimizer because you just happen to be in the dominant ethnic group. But in a different situation, I might be the dominant, I might be the one with the privilege, right? And in this conversation, I know how he feels, right? Like, you know, in situations, for example, when I am a religious majority, right, but not a religious minority, I feel how you feel. So I feel sad or I feel bad that he had to be shoved into this conversation by virtue of just his race, but that is also the unfortunate reality of just race dynamics or any kind of dynamics, yeah.
It's a matter of Are these conversations being had? Can we have more? Let me understand it from your point of view. And I would like to think that each and every one of us, of course, outliers are there for sure, but that once you sit down and have these conversations and articulate that, these things are happening, here's the evidence, that people will go, okay, yeah, this is not cool, and along the way, hopefully they'll be like, yeah, how can we change this? How can we make things a little bit better?
Definitely. Completely agree with that.
Your colleagues make a casually racist joke about your race. On a scale of 1 to 10, how vulnerable do you feel?
So I think that casual racism doesn't have any place in society at all. And I do have sometimes people around me that think it's okay to get away with saying comments like that because their whole lives they've never been told like, this is not okay to say. And I think our job is to educate people on their ignorance and remind them, because sometimes they don't know. And maybe they're not being mean, and nobody has told them that it's not funny. But I would just say, you know what, that's not funny.
Laughing is a form of release, right? Like, oh my God, yeah, this is the society I'm living in. Jokes like this are funny, ha ha ha. Even I'm laughing, you know. So it's like it's a very complex thing. What a person finds funny, and it's so subject to his own personal experiences, his own personal traumas. We cannot understate or underemphasize another person's trauma that warrants his negative reaction to a particular joke. You can't just say, oh, you don't find it funny, you're being too sensitive, because his experiences are different as well. So it's really, really, I think, close to impossible to find a rule book on this. I don't, I think it's one of those things like if you trip a wire, you apologize, you learn, and then you rewrite the rule again, yeah.
If it's something, just chill, right? Just laugh about it. I don't see the need to like get all tough or like get all aggressive on something that is just But if it's day in, day out, my colleagues are telling me that, or like different colleagues coming up to me and be like, oh, Dave, you're always late. Like, oh yeah, that's the thing. If Dave is always late, then it's fine. If Indian is always late, like, hey, bruh, me being me, I know myself, I would find something to like,
Yeah.
bro, you do this too, so I'm gonna find something to shoot.
Take a jab back at them.
Yeah.
But if I hear like different colleagues keep saying it over and over again, but you are not late, it's just a one-off thing, then I'll tell them, oh, maybe you're always late. But I'll actually tell them, I'll be like, hey, it's not that all Indians are late. It is not an Indian problem. It is a Dave problem that he's late. Yeah. It's got nothing to do with his race, correct. Okay? That kind of thing. I will point it out, yeah.
Sometimes you're not sure where the line is drawn. Like when someone makes let's say a joke about slavery, and then it's might be funny, but it's like, so do I laugh at it? Do I not? Do I, I'm a bit half-half because I don't think I will feel as vulnerable. I would rather feel like if this person is saying something that is derogatory, then yes, then I don't think that I will call out I'll say, okay, I don't think you should be making this kind of jokes.
When we talk about if you sign up to go see a comedy show, for example, should you just lower your, threshold?
Yeah.
But then there's also observational humor versus straight up just bashing a certain race.
Yeah.
And playing up to those stereotypes. Yeah. So, but then you could also make the argument, observational humor, but not all of this race does this. Yeah. There are always outliers, but that's kind of where comedy is.
Yeah.
It takes the quote unquote obvious or funniest situation and you exaggerate it.
Yeah.
So, should we give the comedian more leeway? I think so. But then again, I say it with a big question mark.
Yeah.
How far do they go with it,
I think the trajectory of racial humor, right? I think you got to look at how other kinds of prejudicial humor have, how they have evolved. For example, jokes that are prejudiced against women, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 10 years ago, this would have been funny, but today, not funny anymore. And comedians are coming out and saying, I used to make these jokes, not funny anymore, I apologize, I've known better. So in other words, I'm agreeing with you. I don't think we should censor people from testing these things out, so that, because if you don't test it out, you're never going to learn whether it's okay or not, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you trip the wire, then you as the comedian or the artist or the creative person will have to also take a step back and learn and reflect, and I think that's the only way that the conversation can mature lah.
You need to rent a house, and your potential landlord asks what race you are, because she has a preference. On a scale of 1 to 10, how vulnerable do you feel? Oh, easy.
I answer for you. I
You
answer for you.
Okay, let's go. On.
I have personal experience of this because my husband, he does real estate, and people do come to him, foreigners who want to rent a house, right? And because they are migrants, locals just don't want to rent it out to them, and we are at loss of what to say, because it's like, on the one hand, it's embarrassing that our society is still like this, but on the other hand, also the bread and butter of the person who is renting out this house is dependent on this system of prejudice. So it's really, really a crappy situation.
While I don't challenge that you have a choice, I do challenge like, okay, then why, the reason, the motivation, and why does it need to be this way?
I would probably say, what's your IQ level? Because it's racist. It's racist to ask a question like that.
A couple of months or maybe a year plus, I was looking for a unit for one of my cafes, and I found one that I really liked. Messaged the dude, messaged the broker. First thing I asked me, what's your name? So I said Dave, and Dave is a pretty
Neutral
name. So he replied, he said, okay, this Thursday should be good. So what is your race? So I said, Filipino. I just wanted to test water. He was like, yeah, sure, come. So I used another phone to message the same guy. He goes, oh, what's your name? So I said, Pakesh. So he said, how, like Prakash or what? So I said, yeah, Prakash, a very Indian name. Then he goes, oh, what do you want to open? So I said, a restaurant. Oh, Indian, to sell Indian food. And I was just like, no, just any form of restaurant, beat it, Then he's like, let me get back to you on that. Boom, vanished, disappeared. So yeah, it's things like this that makes me, because I'm the living example. I went through it, I can't speak for someone else. It was because I went through it, I know how it is. And that's why I gave God even knows what this number is, but yeah.
For me, it would just be like that. Yeah, I'm Chinese. But then it will make me think twice about whether I want this person as my landlord. Because, because I've had friends who kena like you before, like whereby they are Indian and then they couldn't get the place.
I would actually like to ask a person who has that quote-unquote preference why, and have a conversation with them, and maybe not like attack them in that way, because I think people will get defensive, but just to understand, like, okay, where is this coming from, and maybe try to convince them, because it's not this person's fault who's renting, right? There's nothing you can tell them to help their situation, other than unless you have a lobang or whatever it is lah. But and maybe that's why the anger is there, or the annoyance or outrage is there. It's not something anybody can really control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you feel that when you are trying to find a migrant worker a place to live, right? And then you go from one unit to another unit and just get rejection upon rejection upon rejection. You feel how he feels, right? But even though you're a Singaporean citizen, you feel how he feels. But yeah, that sense of, I don't know what to say. Really, there's no house for you, man. And the guy is waiting to get a house, or he'll be homeless or he'll be homeless. But oh my God, it's really a nasty situation.
Honestly, because I don't have much Eurasian friends. Yeah, so I don't know their experiences, and to me, because we always paint Westerners as you put them on a pedestal sometimes. So so I think in my mind it's because they're they're almost they look Western, they're a Westerner, they look more. So it might be that they don't experience as much.
Yeah, I understand, but I also want to highlight that Eurasians also have different experiences, because there are the Eurasians that like a Chinese Eurasian, for example, a person who's half Chinese and half white would have more privileges than a person like me who's half Malay and half white. I guess I'm talking about in terms of, you know, like modeling or acting and commercials and everything, because it's what I've experienced and what I see for myself, that like even with being Eurasian, there's a more desirable Eurasian to Singapore society.
In any situation, whatever race you are or whatever your social standing is in a particular situation, you always need to check your privilege, right? I mean, that's like, for us, I think it's like a given, like you need to check your privilege. But as someone who says that, yeah, it is natural, it is expected that you check your privilege, that understanding or knowing that is in itself a form of privilege as well, because we have a certain level of exposure to diversity, being able to articulate how we reflect on certain things or certain realities. But not everyone has that exposure, and we need to be able to give them that space to get there, or to give them that space to articulate what is their sense of vulnerability. Yeah, the guy who speaks only particular language around us, or the guy who said, oh, you're very smart for your race, you know, we need to give them that space for them to be vulnerable as well, so that we can understand where they are coming from, you know, and to connect with them through conversation. Yeah.
And I mean, this setting, we're here, we're talking to each other, you know, we're hearing each other, right? That is not the situation you see online. Online is just only my point of view. This is what I feel, and if you don't agree, you are ... Or if you see these videos of these altercations that happen on the street, well, they all started at a high intensity level to begin with. So there's no real like, no, all right, let's all calm down, sit down and explain to each other what you truly feel. In a sense, being vulnerable with each other because of that defensive front. Like, oh, you're calling me a this, I'm calling you a that. And it brings out the worst in people. Like, that's how like these things escalate, right?
I learned a lot from you, some of your answers. I can see that some of the answers pretty much we fare equal, and then some of it are complete opposites. So it's nice to see from a different point of view of why certain things are done in certain ways and how our answers were different. But yeah, definitely had a lot of fun on the shoot.
Yeah, for sure. Just be open-minded. Love is love. Everybody get along together. See, love is brighter.
I'm coming to a house for Chinese New Year, man.
No money. My household Eurasian. Sorry.